What's going on YouTube? Is JeffMan316 coming back to you with what's going to be a top 10 video. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about my top 10 favorite of all time scream queens of horror movies. As you know, if you've checked out my channel, one of the things I love is horror movies, whether it be movies, toys, anything related to horror I love. And this is a topic that I figured it was easy for me to come up with my list. I've been watching horror movies since the late 70s, early 80s. So you might know some of my stuff may lean towards some of the ladies that have been in horror movies for decades. But that's to me, to be a queen, you have to do that. You have to have established yourself. And most of these women have the same thing in common. All kinds of attributes, but they have them all in common. Stuff like beauty, brains, the ability to think on their feet. And then the ability to, obviously, most of them not get killed at the beginning of the movie and make it their way through a lot of the films that they're in. So with that being said, before we get into my top 10 scream queens of all time of horror, if you do me a favor and go ahead and like this video, and then while you're at it, drop some comments below. If you don't like my ranking, or if you've got some people that you think I should have included, let me know. And then while you're at it, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, because I'm new to YouTube and I'm trying to grow this channel. I figured this would be an easy topic that I could go through, and maybe you'll learn some of the hints of things, the things I like about horror, and why I do some of the things on my channel. And then after you subscribe to the channel, go ahead and hit the notification bell, and you'll be the first to know when I post more reviews and more rankings like this. So with that being said, let's get started with my top 10 favorite scream queens of all time. So what's up YouTube? Like I said, this is going to be my top 10 list of my favorite scream queens in horror movies. It's going to probably be similar to a lot of others, but hopefully there's maybe a little bit of differences in this one than some other people might have. I was a child of, the 70s and 80s, so it might be heavy in that, but I like horror movies, so it's going to be a pretty good mix. I think you'll enjoy it, and hopefully you agree, and if you don't, maybe it'll spur some conversation on and we can talk about it. So I got me some notes, and I read better notes-wise without my glasses, so I'm going to go ahead and take those off. So what I'm going to do is, I've got my top 10 list, but then when I was thinking about it, I do want to go ahead and give a couple honorable mentions, and you'll understand why when I do it. Honorable mention number 1 is going to be Julie Strain. She is really a B queen, is what I would call her. Like she's the queen of B movie horror. She's probably like the face of the heavy metal generation. But the reason I'm going to go ahead and throw her on there as an honorable mention is we lost her recently, and it was pretty sad. I think she was only in her maybe mid to late 50s, so I thought that was pretty sad when I heard that. I thought she deserved an honorable mention just because of that. My second honorable mention, I'm going to go ahead. It's a young actress who I've enjoyed her last couple movies. It's Samara Weaving, and you might be upset because you think, if you're young and you're doing your own scream queens list, she's got to obviously be on there, right? No, not enough. She doesn't have enough in her titles in her catalog, let's say. But she's been really excellent in the one she did. Two of my favorite horror movies of here recently. The Babysitter, the first one. The second one's pretty good too. Other than the first one is a lot better. And then she's in Ready or Not, which is a really breath of fresh air in horror movies. Over the last couple of years, I thought it was real inventive, and she did an excellent job in it. So I think she's on her way to become a scream queen in her own right. So Julie Strain and Samara Weaving are my 2 honorable mentions. So the official list is going to start now. So like I said, the official list will start now. Number 10 is an OG of horror. I'm going to give the number 10 spot to Janet Leigh. Now you might say, well, you just talked about Samara Weaving. She didn't have a lot on her resume. Well, Janet Leigh didn't either, but as far as horror related, but damn, Janet Leigh starred in one of the biggest and baddest horror movies of all time. One of the most popular, even if you don't like horror, most people think it's a genuine classic. It's a masterpiece by Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. But she did dabble a little bit along the way. I think they gave her some pretty cool nods in some later horror movies and later in life. She popped up in The Fog, you know, and her daughter, Jamie Lee Curtis, is in there, and that's a pretty good movie. And then they gave her basically a glorified cameo, which I thought was excellent, in H2O, once again, teaming up with her daughter, Jamie Lee Curtis. But number 10 spot's going to go to the OG, the original Scream Queen, Janet Leigh. If nothing more for that damn shower scene, you got to admit it. That's pretty excellent as far as her reaction and her acting. So that's number 10. Number 9 is going to be another actress from the 80s that I loved. For some reason, there was just something about her that I just loved, and it was Adrienne Barbeau. I do remember one of the things that was kind of a guilty pleasure, if you want to call it that. Is that a good way to put it? I don't know. That's got some innuendo in there, but either way, was the original Swamp Thing. And if everybody knows, it's because when they released that bad boy on DVD in the U.S., they released the European cut, and there was quite a bit of nudity in that part. So Miss Barbeau showed us where some of her talents were in that, but not to joke, but she did some other excellent horror movies and other sci-fi type things. She's, of course, was in The Fog, and that movie got remade, and that remake was hot garbage. But the original Fog, one of the reasons it's good is because of her, that sexy voice that she does on the radio. Man, I remember, you know, that's one of the reasons I just love that movie. You can turn that thing on in dark at night and listen to her talk. You know, she almost can put you to sleep. It's so mesmerizing. But with that being said, she also did, she was awesome in Creepshow. Kind of like the opposite of some of her nicer characters in movies. She was the ultimate bitch in Creepshow, and she got hers in that, if you don't remember what happened in that with the box. She was also in Escape from New York, and that's kind of like the perfect role to show, you know, she can be sexy and tough at the same time. So that's the reason Adrienne Barbeau was number 9 on my list. Number 8 is going to be Danielle Harris. And I'll tell you the reason I put her on there is because, you know, she started as a child as Jamie Lloyd in the Halloween 4 and 5. And there's some pretty good sequences in both of those that I think she did a good job acting as a child. But then also, as she got older, she was recast in Rob Zombie's Halloween, and she did a really good job in those. But along the way, she's kind of turned into, I don't know if I want to call her B-movie horror queen, but sort of like, you know, the Walmart DVD section is full of a lot of her movies. But she did do another franchise. She was in some of the Hatchet movies, and I really like those. Those are like ultimate cheese, but they're really cool with a lot of practical effects. She did a good job in those, and she's done a lot, you know, of acting along the way. So I think she deserves a spot on this list, because if you're a child actress in horror movies and the franchise, and then you get in the spinoff of that franchise and other Halloween movies, you deserve to be on this list. So number 8 is Danielle Harris. Number 7, I don't know if I'm even pronouncing this right. Lynnea Quigley, is that how you pronounce her name? If not, everybody knows who she is, just mention it. Return of the Living Dead. If she's going to be on the list for any other reason, it's Return of the Living Dead. I don't know what's a nice way to say this, and this is probably not nice if she ever watches this video. I hope she doesn't get mad when I say this. She was kind of like her part, not her, but the part she plays, man, she was like the 80s sluts in these movies, man. She was quick to take her clothes off, and that Return of the Living Dead is one thing everybody remembers about that. But she's in other movies in the 80s, so but that's the thing I most remembered her from, was Return of the Living Dead. So that was number 7. Number 6, this is probably somebody that's up higher on other people's lists, but I got her kind of like towards the middle of mine, and it's Sigourney Weaver. So number 6 is Sigourney Weaver. Mainly, obviously, she's on this list because of the role of Ripley in the Alien series, especially in those first 2 movies, man. She was pretty badass in those. Kicked ass, you know, killed aliens. She's done a couple of other roles, like obviously she's in Ghostbusters. That's, if you want to call that a horror comedy. She also was in The Village, and then she was in Cabin in the Woods, or a couple of other later movies I remembered. But she just doesn't have the, like I said before, like the resume. The only thing that gets her in the middle of the list is because of the quality of the movie roles that she did do and how excellent she was. It was Ripley, but I don't know that I can put her too much higher on this list just because she really didn't do a lot for the genre other than Alien, and that series went the damn pot pretty much after those first two. So we're going to go with number 6 is Sigourney Weaver. Number 5 is, for me, is Screen Queen is Heather Langenkamp. I don't want to put her any higher because, just like Sigourney Weaver, she didn't do a lot of roles. Obviously, she's most famous for Nightmare on Elm Street. She's done a couple other little things. Got a couple of notes here. I think she had a cameo in Hellraiser Judgment. She obviously hasn't done a lot other than the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. But with that being said, her role in the first one was so iconic. Then the second one was such a stinker that they brought her back with in the third one, and that, to me, that's the best 2 movies of the series, the first and the third ones. And just her she was one of the first horror movie actresses that I remember that just didn't give up and was just tired of the crap from the villain in the movie or the killer, and she wanted to do whatever she could. She home alone that damn house to come after Freddy Krueger and basically kicked his ass in it. And that movie to me was one of the first ones that I remembered that hey, yeah, she's awesome as a female hero in these movies. So that's why I went ahead and put her at number 5. Number 4 is probably going to piss some people off because it's probably higher on everybody else's list. It's Neve Campbell. She's obviously famous for the 4 Scream movies and soon to be the 5th one that's going to come out. The role's kind of iconic. It, to me, it was almost like it was a turn for the better for horror movies. It got the genre back on the map again. She was iconic from the beginning because she was a fighter. She didn't give up no matter what happened. She had, the character had so much family drama going on with the stuff with her mom and dad. Had a lot to overcome, and she did. Really strong character, really a good fighter, and smart, intelligent, beautiful woman. Once again, the theme of a lot of these. So number 4 is Neve Campbell just because of all those attributes. All right, so my top 3 is probably going to piss off a lot of people, like I said. You might not even consider at least one of these, but number 3 is Dee Wallace. And Dee Wallace, to me, and the top 3 are the same, is where she's been in horror, man, since from I can remember watching horror movies, and she's still in horror movies today. So she's just got the longevity. The top 3 of these women, that's one of the attributes on my list, that they just got the staying power, man. She was obviously, I remember first seeing her in The Hills Have Eyes, the original one. She's got some iconic roles, man, in Cujo, fighting off that St. Bernard dog, in that pretty iconic scenes in that with her trapped in her car with her son. The Howling, called on as the news reporter, and then doing the transformation into a werewolf. That's pretty iconic for that. She's got a lot of other roles. Wrote myself some notes. Let me see. Critters. She's most recently been in 3 from Hell? And then I love her in what's the movie Rob Zombie did with his wife? That movie, the Rob Zombie movie, was The Lords of Salem. Lords of Salem. She was really good in that. And then she only has a really small part in it, but I love seeing her pop up in other movies, like she was in House of the Devil. So she's just, man, had such longevity, man. She started out, like I said, in the 70s all the way to 80s, 90s, everything up until today. So longevity. Dee Wallace, man, I really love her as a horror actress. So she's number 3 on my list. All right, number 2 is probably what everybody's going to think is going to be my number 1. If you've watched any of my videos and heard me talk, Halloween, John Carpenter's original, is my second favorite movie. My first favorite movie is Jaws, if you don't know. I'm going to throw mentions of that in every video if I can. So obviously you figured it out. Number 2 is Jamie Lee Curtis. There's reasons that I'm going to give you that she's not number 1. At least one in particular. But let's start with, obviously she's one of the original scream queens of the 70s and 80s in the Halloween movies. She was in The Fog. She's in a movie that I think you should check out. It's called Road Games with Stacy Keach. That's a horror movie, like somebody, you know, somebody stalking them, vehicular horror, if you want to call that. So like The Hitcher. She's in Prom Night too. And then she publicly started denouncing horror movies, you know, basically almost making me feel like that she thought she was above horror movies, didn't want to do it. I know she didn't want to get typecast, and it worked. I mean, she went on and did comedy. She's done everything from A Fish Called Wanda. She's been in action movies, True Lies. She's most recently done Knives Out. So she's a great actress. So I'm not going to, you know, fault her for that. She wanted to do more. But she did come back around, you know, later in her career. She did, you know, Halloween H2O. And then obviously most recently Halloween 2018. And she's going to be in Halloween Kills. So she's kind of embraced the genre again, I guess. She's come full circle. But I think that's more just for that character. She wanted to put a bow around that story. I don't think it's anything to do with horror, because I still don't think she likes horror too much. So that's why she's stuck at number 2, and I'm not going to raise her up anymore. But my number 1 pick is somebody that I just love. I follow her online a lot. I think she's just one of the most beautiful, intelligent women that's been in horror movies all along. It's Barbara Crampton. If you go back and follow through her career and look at some of the things she's done, she's been in a lot of iconic roles. Unlike Jamie Lee Curtis, who took time off, she took time off to start a family. And now that her kids are grown up, she's starting to do more roles, and then naturally fell into the horror genre again. And she's embraced it, because I watched some interviews with her, and she just basically full owns it. Loves what horror's done for her. Loves the fact, you know, that people still remember her for her iconic roles. She's just a genuine, sweet person, it sounds like. And she's still a beautiful person to me. If you go back and watch some of her early films, obviously that was a staple thing for, you know, women in the, you know, 80s in horror. But she was in Re-animator, obviously, and From Beyond. And if you want to talk about just being drop down gorgeous and sexy in those 2 movies, man, she is awesome. I don't know what it's about her, but especially in From Beyond, man, she is just a great actress, but also, you know, is easy on the eyes, as they say. But she's, like I said, come back and done some other stuff. Let me look at my notes real quick. You know, obviously back in the day, I think she was in Puppet Master. She was in Castle Freak, and she was involved in, you know, I think producing and getting that new version of Castle Freak going. I think I just read online that she was doing something, a movie called, it's called Sacrifice. Sorry, I couldn't find my note. So that's new. She was in a movie that I thought was kind of cool, because it was a small role, but it was just perfect for her. It was called Beyond the Gates. It was like a true callback to the 80s, because it was like about an 80s VCR game, and she was the host of the VCR game itself and would tell the players what to do. It was just awesome. And then, you know, obviously one of the most recent things people will probably remember for her was for the mother of the family in You're Next. I really wished her role was a lot bigger in that. She's pretty iconic, and I think she deserved a bigger role, so I was a little disappointed in that. But it was great seeing her come back, and I'm just so thankful that I'm able to see her do more movies. Like I said, I grew up as a teen watching her back when she started. I thought she was awesome back then, and I think she's awesome now. So I hope she continues, and I hope to see other movies, and I can't wait to see her new movie, Sacrifice. So my number 1 screen queen of all time is Barbara Crampton. And I don't care what you say, and I don't care what anybody thinks. That's my number 1 pick, and this is my list. And if you don't like it, you know what you can do. You can watch more of my videos and forget I said that. No, I'm just kidding. So I really appreciate you coming by and checking out my picks, my personal picks for the top 10 screen queens of all time. If you liked my list or didn't like it, leave some comments below. Let me know what you think. Give the video a thumbs up and like it if you will. Go ahead and subscribe to my channel. I'm new to YouTube, and I'm hoping that I can do more of these lists and more reviews and more unboxings and more toy reviews in 2021, and I can get more subscribers from that. So once you subscribe to the channel, which I know you want to after watching this great video, hit the notification bell, and you'll be the first to know when I post new videos. So I really appreciate you coming by, and I hope you are having a great start to your new year in 2021. And this is Jebman316, your pop culture reporter, saying you guys be safe out there.